We are going to carry on with fractions, and this is presentation 2. We start with numerator and denominator and revise a little. You remember I said net for numerator and D for donkey for denominator. So it's net on the donkey. Here is a square which represents one whole. The square is divided into 4 equal parts. One block or square is colored. So as a fraction, we write it. A fraction means a part of a whole. So we write it as 1 over 4. 1 is the numerator and 4 the denominator. Numerator, it tells us what part of the fraction or the whole is colored. Denominator, it shows us into how many equal parts we have shared the whole. Look at the fraction wall. The greater the denominator bottom number or the donkey, the smaller the piece. It means that you have to cut the whole into smaller pieces. Compare half to 1/12. Which part of the pizza do you prefer? 1/2 or 1/12? For sure, 1/2. This is important. The more parts you divide the pizza into, the smaller the piece or the part. So 1/12 will be much smaller than 1 over 2. That means 1/2. Equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions come from the word equivalent. When two fractions have the same value, we call them equivalent fractions. Let's look at 1/2. When a fraction can be divided into 2 parts, it is equal to a half. How many quarters will equal to 1/2? 2 quarters fit into 1/2. 1 over 2 equals 2 over 4. How many 6 will fit into a half? Half of 6? 3. There are 3 6 in 1/2. Half of 6 is 3. 1/2 equals 2 quarters equals 3 6 equals 4 8, etc. Now you can find more examples of equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions. Remember, equivalent, equal. Let's look at equivalent fractions for a half. Half equals 2 quarters, 3 6, 4 8, 5 tenths, 6 12. Let's look at equivalent fractions for 1/3. Remember now, you must use the multiple of 3. In other words, divide by 3. 1/3 equals 2 6 equals 3 9 equals 4 12. Look at the illustration and then you will understand. Comparing fractions. Use the fraction wall to compare a fraction with 1 in the numerator but different numbers as denominators. For example, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. 1/2 equals 1 over 1 equals 2 over 2 equals 3 over 3 equals 8 over 8 equals 12 over 12 equals 24 over 24, etc. A half is bigger than 1/3, 1/3 is bigger than 1/4, and 1/4 is bigger than 1/5. When you divide 1/2 in 2, you get 1/4. Use your fraction wall to compare 2/8 to 1/4. Compare 2/4 to 1/2. Use your fraction wall. 2/8 equals 1/4. 2/4 equals 1/2. Comparing fractions. It's not always so easy to compare fractions, and often you do not have a fraction wall. Let's look at the following: 3/4 and 1/2. Use your fraction wall. The fractions are outlined with black. Which one is the biggest, the half or 3/4? Comparing fractions. Let's look at another example. 4/10 and 3/6. Use your fraction wall. The two fractions are outlined. Which one is the biggest? 3/6 or 4/10? 3/6 is much bigger than 4/10. Comparing fractions. Sometimes you do not have a fraction wall. Now we are going to use the butterfly method. Let's look at some examples. Draw two ovals around the fractions as in the examples. You multiply the two numbers within the oval with each other and write the answer at the top. 30 is greater than 24. Therefore, we write 3/6 is bigger than 4/10. So it's 3 times 10 equals 30. 4 times 6 equals 24. Comparing fractions. More examples of the butterfly method to compare two fractions with each other. 2/5 and 3/6. 2 times 6 equals 12. You always write it at the top. And 5 times 3 equals 15. So 15 is bigger than 12. The next one, 1/8 and 1/10. You still remember, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. 1 times 10 equals 10. 1 times 8 equals 8. So 10 is bigger than 8. Next example, 3/4, 4/5. 3 times 5 equals 15. 4 times 4 equals 16. 16 is bigger than 15. So 4/5 will be bigger than 3/4. Last one, 6, 12, and 3/6. 12 times 3 equals 36. 6 times 6 equals 36. So it is equal to each other. Adding of fractions with the same denominator. It is very easy to add fractions with the same denominator. You only add the numerator and keep the denominator as it is. For example, 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3. The denominator stays the same. You only add the top numbers, numerators together. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Let's do another example. 2/5 plus 4/5 equals 6/5, which is 1 whole 1, 5/5, and 1/5 left. I hope that you enjoy fractions as much as I do. If you know your tables, you'll really enjoy this and find it very easy. Good luck.